What is up, Panthers fans? I'm Dave LaFave, and you are watching Primetime Carolina. It is now week 10 in the NFL, and your team is garbage, borderline unwatchable. Your team, my team, our team, they stink. Before we get into this week's episode, please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Really helps us out. We're going to look a little bit at last week, couple thoughts on that. Then we'll move forward looking at this Thursday night matchup against the Falcons. Just me tonight. Tanner's not here. I'm going to try to keep it short and sweet. Short week for the Panthers, short episode for us. I don't want to bore you with all my talking. So let's go ahead and get into some of these thoughts and ideas coming off of last week's incredibly disappointing matchup against the Cincinnati Bengals. So let's take one step back. In the game against Atlanta, we competed as well as we have all season, probably the best we have all season. In the end, things didn't come out our way. We got a bad penalty called against DJ Moore, shouldn't have been called. We had two missed kicks at the end of the game that cost us the game. But it felt like, as far as the product as a whole that we put on the field, it was probably the best we have done all season. So that gave us some optimism going into this game against Cincinnati, in which we did not show up even a little bit. The defense could not stop anybody. They could not stop the run. Run defense got completely exposed. Bengals ran where they wanted, when they wanted, which obviously makes throwing the football a lot easier. Paul Pasqualoni, defensive line coach, gets fired this week after that game by interim head coach Steve Wilks. That's how pathetic it was. Defense couldn't stop a nosebleed, man. CJ Henderson. It's over. The CJ Henderson experiment is over. When that trade was made, that's something I was pretty supportive of. I felt like this was a guy who had high-end talent. He just hadn't put it all together. With that being said, I can't even say effort is the right word. I won't say he doesn't put forth effort, but as far as the killer instinct that it takes to play that position, that fight, the drive to succeed, to be a winner, just doesn't seem to be there. He's got the talent. The talent's not the issue. It's everything that goes with it. It's between the ears. He just doesn't have it. And that is pretty disappointing because I had really high hopes for what he and J.C. Horn could be as a cornerback tandem, but it just doesn't seem like it's going to work out. So what else went terribly wrong for us against the Bengals? The offense could not do anything. I believe their first three possessions were 3 and outs. At the same time that was going on, the defense could not get off the field, and they were quickly down 21-0. So as you had an offense that couldn't stay on the field, you had a defense that couldn't get off the field. And with PJ Walker as your quarterback, that's game. You're down 21-0, that's game. You cannot expect to be in a position to have a chance to win with PJ Walker as your quarterback when you go down 21-0 in the first 3 possessions as a defense. This is a team that under Steve Wilks, you expect to be in ball games based on the defense they play and the hard-nosed physical offense they play, particularly on the ground. Okay, so let's look at how the ground game went last week. In those first 3 possessions, and I believe even in the first half, in the entire first half, you're looking at Deontay Foreman only having 3 carries. 3 carries. And I believe he had less than 10 yards. So now you're down 21-0. You can't be balanced because you can't get first downs. You haven't been able to establish anything that resembles a running game. And PJ Walker's your quarterback. He desperately needs an effective run game in order to play quarterback in the NFL. No offense to him. Love PJ Walker. I stand by that. But he needs success around him if he's going to have a chance. Okay. So, like I said, you're now 21-0. There's no balance on offense. You have to throw the ball. And that's not a situation where PJ Walker is going to thrive. No offense to PJ Walker, but he's PJ Walker. He's not going to be the guy who's going to bring you back from down 21-0 with no help around him and no type of running game to help him out. So let's fast forward. Second half. Carolina Panthers trail, I believe, 35-0 at halftime, 28-0. I don't remember the exact score. But Baker Mayfield comes in the second half. So I've already seen the movement from Panthers fans say, hey, Baker came in and tore it up in the second half. And he did. He had 155 yards, 2 touchdowns, 126 quarterback rating. 2 nice touchdown throws to Trimble and Terrace Marshall. With that being said, you have to remember Cincinnati was playing a very vanilla defense. Soft zone coverage the entire second half. Something a quarterback's going to look good throwing the ball against. The Bengals were trying to run out the clock. They weren't trying to play defense. So to the fans who are calling for Baker Mayfield, I want you to keep that in mind. But I also want you to keep this in mind because this is probably more important. When we traded for Baker Mayfield, it was for a conditional 5th-round pick. Now, that 5th-round pick could become a 4th-round pick, just depending on what percentage of snaps he plays. And I believe that number is 70%. And right now, he is right below that 70% mark. So if he continues to play, if you put him in that role and he takes 70% of snaps over the course of the season, your 5th-round pick becomes a 4th-round pick. Need I say more? You can't put Baker Mayfield on the football field. In a lost season where we have no shot at doing anything, let's be honest, it makes no sense to put him out there and lose draft capital. So moving forward, I would expect to see Sam Darnold, who's coming back from his injury. Baker Mayfield, I'm not going to say he's done. He'll probably get some snaps at some point in the season. Hell, he might get it Thursday night, depending on how things go. But it does not make sense to put Baker Mayfield in the game and have him run the offense in a lost season when it's going to cost you better draft capital. So I wouldn't expect to see Baker Mayfield much moving forward for the rest of the season. All right, so let's talk about Thursday night. Atlanta is coming off a loss to the Chargers. I would expect to see a lot of ground and pound from Atlanta. What we saw from them 2 weeks ago was a very effective triple option offense. They use Marcus Mariota's ability to run. They do have Cordero Patterson coming back this week, so that'll give them another weapon in their repertoire. The defense has to respond for the Panthers, okay? We saw on Sunday what happens when a team can run the ball down their throats, which is all Atlanta can do. They're a running football team by default. They have to run the ball. If they can run the ball as effectively as the Bengals did on Sunday, obviously the Panthers have no chance. The Bengals are built to run the ball. The defense for the Panthers has to respond. They have to give that offense and PJ Walker a chance to remain balanced, to run the football with Deontay Foreman. If they don't, the Panthers don't stand a chance. And that's not just for this game against the Falcons. That's for every game for the rest of the season. The Panthers need to be able to run the ball with Deontay Foreman and they need to give PJ Walker a shot to be successful. He needs that threat of a run game in order to play quarterback in this league. No offense to PJ. We love PJ. He's not built to run an offense by himself, especially when you can run the ball, set up the play action game, give him a much better opportunity to find success. Okay. Let's talk about who else specifically needs to step up. The secondary. What a disappointing unit. Now, we don't have word quite yet as to whether Jeremy Chin will play or not. Might have to wait another week. We'll see what happens. Obviously, that would be a big boost for the secondary. But when I say the secondary, we're really talking about C.J. Henderson, Dante Jackson. Those have been the two most disappointing guys. The whole unit's been disappointing. J.C. Horn has been good. Everybody else, honestly, has been pretty disappointing. But you're looking at a unit that looked terrible, honestly, against the Bengals. Just not that the Bengals even needed to throw the ball in that game because their running game was so effective. But when they did throw the ball, no problem. No problem throwing the ball against the Panthers secondary. A unit that's full of young talent and should be a lot better than it is. The Bengals didn't even have their best receiver. Can you imagine if Jamar Chase was on the field on Sunday? Man, C.J. Henderson would have retired at halftime. No doubt. He couldn't have finished that game. What's his name? Tre'Davious White? Is that right? For the Bills? That would have been C.J. Henderson at 24 years old, however old he is right now. He would have retired at halftime. Jamar Chase would have left his ankles on the 24-yard line as he grittied his way into the tunnel, celebrating his 6th touchdown of the game. Secondary has to step up. The front seven has to step up. They're going to be tested against this Atlanta offense, this Atlanta run game. A quarterback who has the ability to run and has effective weapons at running back. Like I said, Cordero Patterson's coming back. The Panthers didn't have to play him 2 weeks ago. Kyle Pitts had his best game of the season 2 weeks ago. This defense has to step it up. This is supposed to be the strongest unit on the team. 2 weeks in a row now. They played a good first half against Atlanta, but obviously they allowed 33, what was it? 30, however many points, 34 points, 30 points to Atlanta. That ain't going to cut it. Defense has to step it up. You cannot rely on this offense to score 31, 35, 37 points in order to win. This offense is built to run the football, score 20 to 28 points a game. So if you're the defense, you have to contain the opposing offense and keep them in that range if you're going to have a shot at winning. Period. And don't let the game come down to a field goal because we all know how that's going to turn out. Shout out Eddie De Niro. Anyway, just a couple thoughts on this week's game. Like I said, it's just me today, so I'm not going to bore you any longer. But thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. If this is your first time here, typically it's more than just me sitting here talking, so it's better. Make sure to follow the channel and you'll catch the rest of the crew next time. Anyway, peace out. Keep pounding. Thanks for watching. Go Panthers.